how to add 100 million to your business in the next 12 months. Hey, in this episode, I share a coaching conversation I had with a broker who does 200 million a year and said, "Hey, Scott, I want to go to 300 million. What should I do?" I'm going to break down for you exactly how we identified the constraint and then what lever she decided to push on after a conversation. Hey, I'm Scott Peckford, the founder of I Love Mortgage Brokering and Bricks Mortgage, and started Bricks Mortgage just in 2021. And we did 265 million in our first year and 2.8 billion just 4 years later. We're a fast-growing brokerage focused on helping our agents succeed, and I love coaching agents that we work with. In any case, let me jump into this episode, and I'll share with you kind of what happened. So she reached out and said, "Hey, Scott, so I got this idea. I really want to grow this year." She's a monster producer already. And what should I do? Looking for the new thing to add. And this person is extremely disciplined, got a great team. So I said to her, the question I'd ask you if I was coaching you is I'd say, what's your constraint right now? What's stopping you from going to 300 million? And she thought about it for a second and said, I need more leads. And she's squeezed as much opportunity as she can out of the network that she has, out of her leads. And I said, okay, that's good. That's good that she knew. And I suspected that's what it was because she's got a great team and they can handle more volume. The team is working well. The processes are dialed in. And so now it's just, how do I amp up that volume? And so I said to her, okay, before we add anything new, tell me what's already working. Let's do an audit of what works. And so I said, so where does your business come from right now? And she said 25% from realtors. It was 40% from past clients. It was 10% from webinars, and another 25% came from client referrals. And again, she's got a system in place to generate these client referrals and past client deals. And so I said, okay, if just as a thought experiment, if we doubled the not much amount of business you got from webinars, we wouldn't be that much closer to your goal of adding the 100 million. She said, no, you're right. And I said, but what about if we doubled the realtor business? Because I know she's very good at that. And she's got a great team that takes care of the clients. And she said, okay. I said, so what do you think? Well, explain. She just asked me to explain it. I said, so if you think about 25% of her $250 million of her business came from real estate agents. I said, if you shift from a one-to-one strategy, which is what you have now, you build these relationships, and you've been doing this a long time, to a one-to-many strategy, you can take that realtor business from 50 million to 100 million, and then you're halfway there to your goal of getting to 300 million. She's like, I never thought of it that way. And the reality is that most people, if you have a successful business, the best thing to do before you start adding shiny new things is to look at what's already working. And then how do you double that? So doubling webinars wouldn't have been a good idea. It's very difficult to double the number of past client deals. Especially when she's at 40% already, it's a big chunk. And there's only so many mortgages from your clients that you're going to get in a year. But the one that was the net new business was these real estate agents. And then the great part about that is by adding in 50 million new, she's going to get an immediate bump in client referrals, as well as she'll have more past clients to work with. So she'll end up with higher than a $50 million bump by doubling down on the real estate agents and going from 50 million to 100 million. And the key thing I said to her is that and she's really good at presenting. I said, what you need to be doing instead of like building these relationships like you've done and done it somewhat organically is you need to be getting in front of real estate offices and presenting, and then put your follow-up systems in place. Because I know if you get in front of people, you're going to crush it. If you get in front of people, they're going to want to do business with you. And she said, oh, this is great. I love it. I'm going to go do it. And again, she's the kind of person I have no doubt that will go out and execute on this at an extremely high level. The reason I share this with you is because it's just a simple framework for you and your business. If you have an existing business and you're trying to solve the next problem, the question you need to ask is, what's the constraint? And then you need to audit what's already working. Don't add anything yet. First thing you do is audit what's already working. And then when you identify, is there something in there that you genuinely could get more opportunity out of? And then the next step you want to do is amplify. So it's the constraint, then it goes audit, and then it goes amplify what already works. I like to say amplify before you add. So before adding something new, how do you take the thing you're already doing and make it 10% better, 50%, 100% better? How do you just go? And the key thing I've been thinking about, my word of the year is leverage. And I'm always thinking about how do I apply leverage to this situation? And so when possible, if you're not applying leverage to some of those things, one of the easiest wins is to simply apply leverage to something that's already working. And leverage can be a one-to-many strategy. Leverage can be having other people help you, right? That could be not necessarily just you doing it. Leverage could be tapping into other people's databases instead of just your own. And so there's multiple ways that you can apply leverage, but the key thing is like, where do you apply it? If you think about as a business owner, there's a bunch of, I remember Warren Buffett said this, a business is like this dashboard with all these buttons and levers, and smart business people know which one to push. Like that's the key. It's like, which one? Because there's a lot you could do. You're looking at this whole dashboard, I can push that button, this one. but which button or which lever, if you pulled it, would have the biggest impact. And that's what you need to focus on. So I'll wrap this up with just a quick recap. So, and maybe you're like, Scott, I'm not doing 200 million a year. No, but if you're doing 10 million a year, I would still you do the same. I'd say, where's your business come from? Let's audit it. Let's figure out what, because I promise you, if you're getting 5 million from real estate agents or wherever that source is, you can double that. There's people out there doing more than that from that lead source or that sort, then you could do the same. So then I'd have you double down on what already works. So audit, amplify, and then apply leverage. I hope you find this useful. Hey, as I always say, there's no problem in your mortgage business that someone else hasn't already solved. Your problem is who's got the solution. This podcast is designed to provide some of those solutions. Quick shout out I'll share with you is that if you want to follow me along, I write an email every week called Peckford's Playbook. I share tactics, stuff I'm learning. You can get on that, click on this list, follow me on social, and message me. I'll send that to you. I'd love to stay in touch with you. And I hope you find this useful. I'm really enjoying applying the coaching conversations and then turning them into this content for you. And if you're finding it useful, please send me a note. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have a conversation or something you'd like me to cover, shoot me a note on that too. I probably had a conversation about it, and I'd be happy to share if there's something I have some insights or thoughts that can help you. Thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.